Morning everybody, how are you? Okay, so as I said last night, what we're going to talk about today is overcoming negative thoughts and feelings. I mean, when you think about it, fear is literally the single biggest thing that holds us back and stops us doing everything. So overcoming fear is an essential step in achieving your goals and your dreams about what you actually want. As Ralph Waldo Emerson actually said, most people won't know him, he was way back, during the war, stuff like that. Do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain. Morning Louise, morning Andrea. It's one of the most common reasons people procrastinate on taking action towards their goals. We fear failure, or rejection, or being embarrassed, or disappointing, or anger, other people, or getting hurt. That's basically what stops us and why we're so afraid. So we play it safe and we avoid taking risks and trying new things. So where does fear come from? Morning Anne-Marie, morning Joanna. Well, the answer is from us. Here's a surprise. Morning Karen. From our own minds and imagination. It's important to remember that as humans we've evolved to a stage where almost all our fears are now self-created. It's everything round about us that does this. We scare ourselves by imagining negative outcomes to any activities we pursue or experience. But think about it, this is just because we imagine these things happening. It doesn't mean to say they will actually happen, or that they will be as painful as we think. That's why psychologists like to say that fear stands for, fantasized experiences appearing real. Because with fear, the fear is all about what might happen, not actually what will happen. Morning David. And this goes back to the caveman days and is hardwired into us. Think about this. This is how fear happens. It's flight or fight in its basic form. So two cavemen sitting in the bush, waiting for an animal. They're sitting watching it in the plain or the Serengeti. And they're waiting to jump on the animal to kill it and have it for tea. All of a sudden, it's dead quiet. And then a crack they hear in the bush. And a T-Rex comes in and munches one of them while the other one runs away. And then that precedent's set. So what happens the next time is the same guy that ran away is sitting in the bush. And he's waiting. He's stalking the animal. And then he hears a crack of wood and twigs. And immediately it pops into his mind, oh my God, a T-Rex is going to get me. Because that's what you remember from the last time where he heard that experience. And he does a runner. It's flight or fight. It's hardwired into us to protect ourselves. So when we become fearful, our minds begin to work against us in order to protect us. It's doing the right thing, but you've got to overcome it. And you've got to understand it. And this is what this whole series is all about. So overcoming the fear. The good news is, since we are at the root source of our fears, that means we have the power to overcome that fear. Instead of allowing ourselves to imagine a worst case scenario and be the victim of our fears, we can take control of our own minds and consciously decide to think positive thoughts and visualise the best case scenario instead. Morning Alana. Here's a quick exercise for overcoming fear. Make a list of all the things you're afraid to do. These are not things that you're afraid of, such as spiders, but instead things that you're afraid to do, such as skydiving. I don't think I'll ever jump out of a plane. I value my life too much. And the risk of a parachute not opening just gives me the fear. There you go. My mind protecting me. This list might include things such as leaving your job, going back to school, tackling your spouse on the relationship, asking for a raise, and so on. You get what I mean? And once you've completed that risk, restate each fear in the following format. Now, I'll leave some blanks here and I'll give you examples. I want to blank. and I scare myself by imagining blank. So for example, I want to start my own business and I scare myself by imagining that I might go bankrupt and lose my house. Morning, Sarah. Or I want to talk to my husband about my relationship. I'm going to be popular with husbands. I want to talk about my husband about our relationship, and I scare myself by imagining that if he knew how I really felt and what I really wanted, he might actually leave me. Does that sound familiar? Morning, Francis. By completing this statement for all the things that we're afraid to do, you can see how you are the one creating your fears by imagining the negative outcomes. Think about that. I'll say that again. By completing these statements of all the things we're afraid of, you can see how you're creating the fears by imagining negative outcomes in the future. They've not actually happened yet. So take more control over your fear. So let's take the last part of that statement, the fearful outcome you imagined, and transform it into something positive. Now think about this, for example. So we'll look at this scenario. Then what we think. Instead of scaring myself, okay, by imagining that I might go bankrupt and lose my house, what about I'll work harder to do whatever it takes to make my business a success? I mean, that makes absolute sense. Or instead of scaring myself by imagining that my husband will leave me, I will work with him to cultivate a greater and love and intimacy in the relationship. Do you see how these statements flips the fear on its head and transforms it into a powerful, positive vision? I mean, try this for yourself and transform all your fears into empowering visions of success. Tomorrow we're going to talk about 7 strategies to overcome that fear. But please take time to share this with everyone else so they can join in with us. After all, we're all in it together. We all have the same fear and the same issues. Why not pull in the same direction together? And I'll see you tomorrow at 7:30.